Here's a place I never thought I'd be again, recording audio for another YouTube video. It's been about 3 years since I last uploaded, 5 years since I last took this seriously, but despite these passing years, something keeps drawing me back. Something keeps telling me this is where I belong. But why? Why do I have this strong desire to create? Maybe it's just in my nature. I've been on this platform, on and off for 16 years now, since I was a little kid. But no matter what, I keep finding myself back here. So, I'm going to scratch that itch. I'm coming back. No more half-arsed, pitiful attempts to create content. I'm going to make what I want in my own time. So if I'm going to start, I'm going to go back. Back to Christmas of 2002, where I received a gift, and despite it really not being too noteworthy, it would change the way I looked at the entertainment industry. It would make me realise that sometimes games can be shite, and not everyone out there is trying to make things that have genuine quality. Sometimes companies are out there to rip you off, to make a quick buck, if you will. You see, that year I received a game. A game so awful that, without being too dramatic, it scarred me for life. No matter what, I always find myself thinking back to this garbage and the pain it left on unsuspecting children's minds. Today, we're going to revisit Lion and the King. But first, just some background for those of you lucky enough to have avoided these shit tips in your life. Lion and the King was released on the PlayStation in 2001 by Midas Interactive and later by Phoenix Games in 2003. I am absolutely certain that these will be the exact same game. Midas and Phoenix are infamous for their releases on the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. Between them, they released many contenders for worst game of a generation, but despite releasing some actual games, and I say that in the loosest fashion of the imagination, they would release these little multi-pack things that would rip off an existing IP, quite often Disney films, in the hope that unsuspecting parents would buy them for their children, thinking it was the real McCoy, if you will. They released all your favourites, like Nice Cats, Goldie, and Animal Soccer World. Ugh. What we ended up with was this absolute treasure trove of trash. So, what is included in these games? Well, you would get a digital colouring book, one of those god-awful sliding puzzles that for some reason calls itself a jigsaw. It isn't. But the biggest atrocity on these things were the movies. Around 30 minutes of poorly animated, terribly voice acted, mind-numbing dialogue, and overall the shittest excuse for entertainment you can imagine. And that's coming from some cunt making YouTube videos in his room. These movies were created by Dingo Pictures Haas und Ikat Partnerschaft Filmemacher, or more commonly known as Dingo Pictures, an animation company based in Friedrichsdorf, Germany. And they've been making these terrible animations for years, way before they got slapped onto PlayStation games. And somehow they entered this partnership or something with Midas, giving those pricks a reason to not make a game and instead sell people this absolute dross. This brings us to The Lion and the King, my first exposure to this practice and the film they bundled onto the disc. I have seen this movie at least 4 times in just my adult life. The most recent was back in 2015 when I was joined by my 2 friends and just had a laugh while watching. But this time was different. I was by myself and had to take notes and really pay attention so as not to miss anything. It was brutal. So before we get into this, I just want to make one thing apparent. I'm not going to go too hard on the animation. I know it's super bad, but it's just like living next door to a tip. Eventually you get used to the smell of shite. And I've seen these movies so often, I just kind of don't even notice it anymore. Besides, it is kind of low-hanging fruit. The official title of this film is Der König der Tiere, das große Abenteuer, which I believe to be translated to The King of the Beasts, The Great Adventure, which, yeah. So the film opens up where we see the regular inhabitants of the jungle just doing their jungle things. The elephants are elephanting, the monkeys are swinging, well, the creepy giraffe watches, and then these two weasels appear, I don't know, and recap the past events, bringing us back up to speed. Oh yeah, I should mention, Der König der Tiere das große Abenteuer is actually a sequel. The first film in the franchise was Der König der Tiere. Just that. Now, normally I would start my little journey here by reviewing this one, but they didn't make an English dub. Look, my German isn't too bad, but there's no way I could have watched all of this, translated it, and review it. Maybe fucking stupid, but I'm not mad. Well, maybe a little. I don't know. But we could just have a quick look at what's going on in this one.
I'm the girl's best friend!
Yeah, I don't think so. So we get a recap from the two weasels, that's just what I've decided they are. So a good lion takes over the jungle or something and drives the bad Black Panther away. There, we're caught up. We cut to these two spazzy wee monkeys pissing themselves over something while a hippo below can't get asleep.
For lunch, it's only 12 until 2 o'clock.
Eh? Right, I need to talk about the voice acting right quick. So, most of the voices are done by a very limited number of people, supposedly just the one person on some of the films. And I'm not sure, but I have a sneaking suspicion that most of the lines were done in one take by probably the cheapest actor they could find, or if you look at the trivia on the wiki, they're friends. So because a lot of these voices were done by the one person, a lot of them would start sounding the same, and what they would do is put on an overly cartoonish voice to distinguish different characters. The problem with this though is a lot of these voices are so over the top that it's actually really hard to understand what's being said. Like there's these elephants, and we'll get on to later, have such an awful voice. I just struggle to pick up anything they're saying. So the two fuds drop a coconut on the hippo and laugh manically. This, by the way, is the level of comedy we're dealing with here. I mean, obviously you're in much safer hands with me. So now we're introduced to two of our main characters in this film, Robin and Dundee, cause you get it? Before their games are interrupted by the king and his wee gobshite bird Peary. The king then bitches to Peary that he should have been watching Robin so that he doesn't, and in the king's words,
him so that he doesn't get up to any nonsense. Bring him back.
Can we just stop and take in the king for a moment? I know I said I wasn't going to mention anything about the animation, but why does the king look like he's done in far greater detail than anyone else? I think it's just the mane, but for some reason it looks like a completely different artist designed the king. The king reprimands Robin for chasing their subjects, and in the middle of it, some gormless bear just walks past, cause sure. The king orders Robin to play another game, and just listen to this dialogue.
That's not the same. You want to eat them.
Stop arguing. Joke here, joke there. I don't like it. Finished. Play another game.
And that's when we see the football. So Gormless Bear brings up something about the diamonds, and thus brings us to the main storyline of this film. I'll do my best to quickly go over this, but it's kinda dumb. So the Black Panther is desperate to get the diamonds that have been hidden somewhere by someone, and it's in the king's part of the jungle, but the king maybe knows where they are, and that sets Robin off wanting to find the diamonds, cause we need an adventure. So Robin, Dundee and Gormless Bear piss off to find some vultures to locate the diamonds, and we have this weird boing boing music play. Ugh, and this brings us to another thing that is abhorrent in these films, which are these scenes where characters are just walking, like there's no dialogue or anything, just things walking, and it's such a horrible time killer. When I watch these videos, I'm just desperate for them to get to the end, and when you're seeing crap like this just to pad out time, it's rubbish, basically. Right, the Spaz Patrol go up to the vultures, and then they're told to look for diamond clues or something, and they're hidden in a secret hiding place, because the vultures know where they are, I guess. Then Peary turns up and says that Robin should be asking the king for permission to look for diamonds, and Robin for some reason finds this humorous. What a creepy wee cunt. So the wee clipe of a bird fucks off and grasses to the king. What up, giraffe? The king then confronts Robin on this, tells him to go, end of day. Then the exposition weasels turn up again, and another pointless scene. They basically just set you up for the next scene, which wasn't actually necessary, because they could have just cut to it and saved some time. Now we get to the Panthers. So you have the Black Panther, and then you have his son, fucking Mew Mew. So the Panther is plotting to look for the diamonds along with the gorillas that's siding with the Panther for some reason. Mew Mew gets the hump with his dad because he doesn't spend very much time with him. These random hyenas appear, probably because the Lion King had hyenas. Like, one even looks like Ed. There's this nice mothering gorilla that basically looks after Mew Mew, which only really brings up the question of, where are all the mothers? Like, Robin and Mew Mew don't seem to have mothers, and other characters like Dundee don't seem to have any parents at all. But Mew Mew decides to sneak across the border to the king's side, thinking that if he finds the diamonds, his dad might have more time for him. Hate to break it to you, Mew Mew, but I think your dad's just a knob. Back to the other side, and Dundee's getting his teeth polished like it's the fucking Flintstones or something. And even though his dad has explicitly told him not to, Robin decides to look for the diamonds anyway, because he thinks if the diamonds are found, the Panther won't come back to look for them. Then Robin walks around to this really upbeat music while they reuse clips from earlier in the film. Then a rabbit appears that sounds exactly like Dundee.
Oh, you might think that if you were a squirrel. Squirrels dig.
Thing is, I get that there's hardly any voice actors, and between them they can only produce so many voices, but if they couldn't do any other voices, then why do they keep introducing new characters? Shit you not, there's probably more characters in this film than there were in The Lion King, and this couldn't even reach 30 minutes, despite the numerous attempts to try and pad out the runtime. Then Gormless Bear turns up and briefly mentions something about a cave, and Robin gets a brainwave to start looking in caves on the rocks. Robin then proclaims that he is the most intelligent bear of all times. Don't think Robin has watched much Arthur.
You are the most intelligent bear of all times.
Mew Mew wakes up and he's in the king's territory. Somehow the elephants must have missed him. Oh yeah, the king hires elephants to guard the border. So what does our little panther friend decide to do?
Oh, here's nothing. What a pity. I would have liked to found it in the very first cave. Oh, I'll keep looking. Some more.
What's with that pause? Were they not able to splice that sentence a little closer? Then Robin and Mew Mew end up bumping into each other and start arguing over the Black Panther, and we get this little gem. And you know what, I'm just going to play this 20-second clip in its entirety to show you how incompetent this film is.
Your father, the Black Panther, is your father? I'll tell you what. That was quite near.
Yeah, it was.
Nothing can happen to us here, can it?
No, I don't think so.
The two cubs kind of start bonding over how shite their dads are. Fuck me, here comes wee Clipe Bird again. So Robin and Mew Mew are now friends and even plan to meet the next day. Right, so Robin's sleeping and fucking Dundee shows up with a shovel. Like, where did he find that? Are there humans in this universe that have left it? Or is there some gorilla ironmonger kicking it somewhere in this jungle? Robin needs to go see Mew Mew, so ditches his friend because he's such a stand-up guy. Random bird. So Robin meets up with Mew Mew again.
Perhaps we could become friends.
I don't know. I think we should be enemies.
Certainly.
This Robin is such a little cunt. Ditches one friend to hang out with another, then decides they shouldn't be friends anyway. Dingo are just fucking ace at building relatable characters. This starts another hissing war, and good fucking god, this prick again. And now the elephants get involved.
Ooh, where is he? Where's the panther?
Go away. It's only a little panther and he was very nice.
Very nice. Just a minute ago you were at his fucking throat. We're 15 minutes into this thing and I'm already seething.
Robin, has anything happened to you? Where's the panther? Where?
Okay, I'll admit it, this line is genuinely amazing. The king's concern for his son, the immediate change in tone in the voice, and the delivery of the latter half of the sentence. Let's play it again.
Where's the panther? Where?
I think the king may be my favourite character in this thing. All of his lines are put together so redundantly and the delivery is what really sells it. It sounds as if the VA is trying really hard and also putting in no effort at all. It's like Tommy Wiseau levels.
Oh, sir, sooner or later, even an elephant's got asleep.
Didn't I tell you about these clowns? Honestly, these characters are really irrelevant. So Mew Mew heads back to the other side of the jungle and his dad confronts him, manages to get all the details of the last few days out of him and is very surprised to hear who he's been playing with.
What? Robin, the lion's son?
Listen to this line from one of the apes.
He's a coward, an absolute stupid one, a real stupid coward, that's what he is. Ah.
Right, I'm fucking sick of watching this pish, so let's speed up this review a little. Back to Robin and Dundee, who it seems like Robin is happy palling around with again, now that he isn't tarting it up with Mew Mew. They go and search for Mew Mew again, and we get the return of the boing boing music. It doesn't take long, and the dim-witted duo find a little pussy. They make friends again, of course, and leave to go look for the diamonds, leaving Dundee behind once again. I'm not too sure what the big takeaway from a film like this is, but throughout the only thing that remains consistent is that Robin is a dick, and Dundee is constantly being pushed aside for others. Dundee is the real hero of this movie. Time and time again he is abandoned, and in the end he is the one that saves the day. Oh, spoilers. So they bump into a snake that is guarding a cave. Dundee ends up catching up to the cats and assumes that the snake is guarding the entrance to the cave because there is treasure in there. The cats enter the cave, and I know I said I wasn't going to make fun of the animation too much, but this scene just has to be admired. The two of them just fell for like 7 seconds, and I'm no physicist, so I ain't gonna claim to give you an accurate number to the many feet they just fell from, but we can probably deduce that it is fairly sizable, meaning that these two should be dead.
Robin! Mew Mew! Are you dead?
See, even Dundee thinks so. The cat's waking up, and what a surprise, the diamonds are placed right next to them. Dundee then leaves to find the Black Panther cause Mew Mew is injured. It doesn't take very long and he is captured. The Black Panther gloats, but Dundee informs him that his son has been shot dead and injured. He isn't too bothered, but then changes his mind when he thinks people will think his son is more intelligent than him because he managed to cross the border. The panther moves to his son's aid and they leave Dundee hanging while a comical womp womp sound effect plays.
What's the matter with me?
Ooh, the long-awaited clash between the king and the Black Panther.
What do you want around here?
Well, what do you think?
I'm glad the king is back. So this whole plan to get the Black Panther and the king is completely fucking pointless because watch this scene play out.
You see, Meow Meow, help is coming.
Who wants to go first?
Meow Meow, he's hurt.
How does it look? Can we go on now?
Ready? Ah!
Wait, Dundee is free? The last we saw of him, he was tied up. So the cubs are now free, and then all the animals chastise the dads, and one of the elephants comes out with this little nugget.
If we hadn't been here, The two kids could have died down there in the cave.
God, that accent, it sure is familiar.
So you bang on this side, I bang on that side, and there you have it, your very own metal fuzzy dice.
The King and the Black Panther call a temporary truce, and just in time for another classic line from the King.
Robin, thank God nothing has happened to you.
They end up bickering about the diamonds again for a bit before Robin shares his great idea. They can have half each, and they're both happy about it. There's so many questions stemming from this shit that really boils my piss, like, why didn't they think about this before? Where did this batch of diamonds really come from? And what I'd assume is an altruistic society, why do they even care about diamonds? And that's more or less the end of Lion and the King. The King is going to give away some of his wealth to the Society for Endangered Animals, which doesn't really exist, unless he means the WWF or something. And honestly, it really is as bad as I remember. Like, sure, there's some funny lines sprinkled throughout the film, but it doesn't negate the endless walking scenes, the piss-poor animation, which, if you couldn't tell, is just crude drawings with barely any frames to give you the absolute lowest bar for animation possible. And the sole fact that this only exists to trick people into thinking it's related to the far more popular Lion King is in itself unforgivable. My final rating for this film is 3 out of 10. Which you may think is very generous, but it does have a few good things going for it. The King makes me laugh. It unfortunately holds a lot of nostalgia for me, and perhaps the best thing about it is it's less than 30 minutes long. So that's going to be the end of my first review, and before you ask, I'm not going to review all of the Dingo Pictures putrid library. I may do one every now and then, but I need a good break in between because these things just pummel my fucking sanity. Next time I'm going to look at a PSA I watched when I was in primary school. Will it be as entertaining as I remember? You'll need to check back and see. Or don't. I don't fucking care.
Where's the panther? Where?